I didn't realize my life had changed until I heard the splash. Not a scream. Not a crash. Just one soft sound, like something small had slipped beneath the surface. I turned around. My laptop was sinking to the bottom of the pool. For a second, my brain refused to catch up. It just sat there, frozen, while the screen flickered once under the water, and then died. When I looked up, my brother was standing at the edge of the patio with his hands in his pockets. He looked almost relaxed. "Oh," he said with a lazy half-smile. "Sorry?" It slipped. Like my laptop had somehow jumped off the table and thrown itself into the water. I didn't answer right away. I just stared at him, trying to decide what was worse, what he had done, or how badly he wanted me to pretend it was an accident. That's when my dad stepped outside. "What happened now?" he asked, already sounding annoyed. "He threw my laptop into the pool," I said. Dad barely looked. "It was an accident," he replied instantly. Too instantly. That was the moment something cold settled in my chest, because I understood it wasn't about the laptop. It was about what happened a few hours earlier. My brother had walked into my room like he owned it, leaned against my desk and said, "I need 20 grand. No explanation. No shame. Just expectation." $20,000? I asked. He nodded. "Just for a few weeks." I looked at him and said the one word I should have said years ago. "No." His face changed, but only for a second. "You have it," he said quietly. "Don't act broke." "That doesn't make it yours," I told him. He stared at me for a long moment, then gave one small nod. "Fine," he said. "Do what you want." And then he walked out. At the time, it sounded like the conversation was over. It wasn't. It had only just begun. Dinner that night was strangely quiet. Not peaceful. Not normal. The kind of quiet that feels like something is waiting to happen. My dad talked about work like it was any other evening. My brother barely said a word. He just sat there scrolling through his phone, occasionally glancing at me with that same look, like I had denied him something he already believed belonged to him. No one mentioned the laptop. No apology. No accountability. No consequence. And that silence told me everything. I went upstairs early, closed my bedroom door, and sat in the dark for a few minutes. I expected to feel angry. Instead, I felt clear. For the first time in a long time, I stopped asking myself why they treated me this way, and started asking a better question. Why was I still letting them? So I picked up my phone. Then I started making calls. People think power is loud. They think it looks like yelling, threats, or dramatic speeches. It doesn't. Sometimes power is quiet. Sometimes it looks like paperwork. Sometimes it looks like knowing exactly which wire keeps the whole machine running, and deciding when to pull it. By midnight, I had logged into every account I needed. By 2 in the morning, passwords were changed. By 3:30, I had spoken to the bank. Not to destroy anything. Just to correct ownership, permissions, and access. The truth was simple. My brother spent money. My dad approved decisions. But I built the systems underneath both of them. 4 years, I handled the business accounts, the transfers, the payment structures, the credit access, the back-end organization. All the things nobody notices when they work perfectly. And because everything always worked, they never paid attention to who made it work. That was their mistake. By 6:15 the next morning, I was already sitting in the kitchen with a cup of coffee growing cold in my hands. I didn't have to wait long. A door slammed upstairs. Then another. Fast footsteps pounded down the hallway. A second later, my brother stormed into the kitchen holding his phone like it had betrayed him. "What the hell did you do?" he snapped. I looked up slowly. "What's wrong?" I asked. "My cards are getting declined," he shouted. "My accounts are locked." Before I could answer, my dad came in behind him, still half asleep and already irritated. "What is going on?" My brother turned toward him. "Everything's frozen." I took a slow sip of coffee and finally said the words they never thought they'd hear from me. "Not frozen," I said calmly. "Removed." "Yeah, the part too." The room went completely still. My brother blinked at me like he hadn't heard me properly. "What do you mean removed?" he asked. I set my coffee down carefully and looked at both of them. "For years," I said, "I've been handling everything behind the scenes. The business accounts, the transfers, the credit access, the payment structures, all of it." Dad frowned. "That's not true." "It is," I said, calm enough to make it worse. "You just never paid attention because everything kept working." My brother gave a short, bitter laugh. "Okay," he said. "Cute. So put it back." I shook my head. "No." That single word hit harder than anything else I had said all morning. He stepped toward me. "You can't just do this." "I already did." That's when my dad's expression changed. Not anger. Not yet. Something much more dangerous. Realization. He looked at me carefully now, like he was finally seeing the part of the machine he had ignored for years. "What exactly did you do?" he asked quietly. "I removed unauthorized access," I said. "Including yours." His face lost color. "You're joking." "I'm not." Silence filled the kitchen like smoke. Then my brother snapped. "You're doing all this over a stupid laptop?" I held his stare. "It was never about the laptop," I said. That was the first moment his confidence cracked. Just slightly. But enough. "You don't get to treat me like I'm invisible," I continued. "And then expect me to keep your world running like nothing happened." Dad stepped forward, trying to regain control. "Enough," he said. "We'll sort this out. Just put everything back where it belongs." I looked him dead in the eye. "It already is where it belongs." He stared at me. "What does that mean?" "It means I'm done." The words landed heavy between us. Final. Clean. Irreversible. "I've already separated my share," I continued. "Legally, financially, everything is already in motion." Dad looked stunned. "You didn't even talk to me." A bitter smile almost reached my face. "I tried," I said. "You just never listened." After that, no one yelled. No dramatic explosion. No last-minute apology. No sudden understanding. Just silence. My brother sat down slowly, staring at his useless phone. My dad stayed where he was, unable to fix something he never bothered to understand. And for the first time in that house, nobody had the power to dismiss me. I stood up, grabbed my keys, and walked toward the door. "Wait," my dad said, his voice quieter now. "Where are you going?" I paused, but I didn't turn around. "Somewhere I don't have to explain my worth," I said. Then I left. Later that afternoon, I got a notification. The insurance claim for my laptop had been denied. Intentional damage suspected. I stared at the screen for a moment, then turned my phone off. Because by then none of it mattered anymore. I hadn't just lost a laptop. I had finally stopped losing myself. And if you've ever had to walk away from the people who only valued you when they needed you, then you already know. Sometimes leaving is the loudest way to win. If this story hit harder than expected, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments.